Good getting internet. I said I was going to have a video that was dealing with the what faction I play next in Alpha Centauri when I play my next Alpha Centauri game, because I am going to play another game of Alpha Centauri. I'm currently thinking 3 games total, but I don't know yet. But I'm not playing it right away. I will be playing a game or games in between. Actually, there'll probably be one game in between each of the SMAC runs, so to speak. May end up being 2 just because some of them are running short. But anyway, point is, I'm not playing this right away, which is why I am safe in recording this in advance. Today, for reference, is the 3rd of September. So it's only the day after I finished recording my SMAC run. In addition, I had some bits that I cut out of my SMAC run because it was running really long and it wasn't really relevant to the game that I wanted to include. That's going to be at the end of this video, so don't worry about it. And also don't worry about the length of this video. If all you're here for is help me decide what's next, then that's just this section. So if we look over at SMAC really fast, these are the 7 base factions of SMAC. And this is what we ended up playing last time. And there's nothing wrong with playing one of these factions again. They're definitely the most flavorful factions, but I personally think it might be time to play some of the Alien Crossfire factions. The Alien Crossfire factions, I'm going to go through them really fast, include the Cybernetic Consciousness, the Nautilus Pirates, the Free Drones, the Data Angels, the Cult of Planet, and the 2 progenitor factions, the Manifold Caretakers and the Manifold Usurpers. Let's go through them in a bit more detail. So Aki Zeta 5 is the leader of the Cybernetic Consciousness. She originally hails from Norway, actually, and she is from the University faction originally. And long story short, from her plot, she is a pre-sentient algorithm. Really, they should be using they, them for Aki, but as I alluded to at the start of the previous run, they did not have any non-binary pronouns. So, Aki is an interesting character in that she is basically University ++. So she starts with 2 technologies. 2, not just 1. Or 1 and an any, but 2 technologies. She also starts with +2 research, just like Zach. She also has +2 efficiency. So she is by far the most efficient faction in the game. If you want to swarm the entire map with, oh god's Y number of bases, she might be your best bet. Her only real disadvantage is -1 growth, which does suck. It means that I cannot necessarily population boom until I reach the cloning vats. You need +6, I believe. +6 to growth, and it is not possible or feasible to get +6 growth when you start with a -1. The best that you can get is +5, as far as I know. So, she doesn't grow very fast by comparison, especially at the start of the game. It'll be brutally slow to increase our population, which is part of what limits her efficiency actually being useful, because she won't be able to get gobs and gobs of bases really fast. But by the time mid-game rolls around, she's probably the strongest of... one of the strongest factions. Also,
those who join us need give up only half of their humanity, the illogical, ill-tempered. Those who join us need give up only half of their illogical, ill-tempered, and disordered half, commonly thought of as right brain functioning. In exchange, the left brain capacities are increased to undreamed potential. The tendency of biologicals to cling instead to their individual personalities can only be attributed to archaic evolutionary tendencies. Prime function, Aki Zeta 5, convergence.
So yeah, I have basically said all of her plot at this point. The bits that I had mentioned where she originates from Zach's faction, I believe that comes from the book previews that they had on the original Alien Crossfire website. I don't think that website still exists, but I know it's archived somewhere. But that was supposed to be the lead-in for a book series that never happened. So yeah, let's go next to... Nope,
Those who join us need give up only half of their...
Let's go next to the Nautilus Pirates. The Nautilus Pirates are led by Captain Ulrik Svensgaard. Ulrik is from Sweden. And his agenda is pillage and burning. So he also starts with 2 technologies, Doctrine Mobility and Doctrine Flexibility, which means that not only do I start with rovers at the start, I also start with boats. That's going to be very important for a faction called the Nautilus Pirates. They only have penalties to stats. They are -1 efficiency and -1 growth. They are, on paper, if you just look at that, the worst faction in the game. Because that means that not only can they not grow very fast, but they're also very inefficient while they do it. But that's not the full story. They get a free naval yard once they get the tech that gives them naval yards. D initiative, for reference, is the tech for cruisers, so the next step up on boats. Enhancements may be built in ocean and trench squares with the discovery of advanced ecological engineering. So what you saw me do where I had in the previous run, where I had to constantly raise terrain in the water in order to be able to put down improvements, I don't have to do that as Svensgaard. In addition, I get Sea Colony Pod and Sea Former prototypes for free. One moment. Sorry, I just had to sneeze and I scared poor Boo away. So the Sea Colony Pod for free does nothing because we already have D flexibility, which would give us the Sea Colony Pod, so that doesn't make any difference. But the Sea Former prototype for free is interesting because we don't have the tech for formers, which means that we can start the game with formers, which is very nice. In addition, any ocean shelf square gives us a bonus mineral. Remember the one major problem that we had with sea bases, which was we didn't have enough mineral production because the only way you can get minerals was mining a square, and mining drops the food output? This means that we get mineral production even on squares that are solar powered. That is vital for us and is actually a reason to consider raising up the terrain anyway, even though we will eventually be able to build on ocean tiles. But that mineral bonus, the fact that we're starting on the water, which it didn't actually state here, but we start in the water. We do not share a landmass with anybody, nothing. We will have a relatively slow start as a result, but we're not in competition with anybody at the start. Nobody even has Doctrine Initiative to start with other than us. So the ocean is basically ours for the taking at the start of the game. And it is awesome. Finally, we also get the Marine Detachment ability for free on all naval combat units once we get Adaptive Doctrine, which is the tech that gives you the Marine Detachment. Marine Detachment, for reference, is the ability for us to, in combat, we randomly, instead of destroying our enemy ship, we just gain control over it permanently. We're pirates. We're boarding them. The Nautilus Pirates are the most powerful faction in Alien Crossfire. Yep, I didn't list any exceptions or anything like that. They are by far the most powerful faction in my mind. The only ones that come close are the Consciousness and one of the Progenitors. For a human to play, I should say. For an AI, not so much. All they end up doing is taking up lots of space.
The sea, vast, mysterious, and full of wealth. And the nations of planets send their trade across it without a thought. Well, the sea doesn't care about them, so it lets them pass. But we can give the sea a little hand in teaching the landlubbers a lesson in humility. Captain Ulrik Svensgaard, the ripple and the wave.
So yeah, Ulrik. Ulrik is basically Aquan Spartans. And way better at that role. Let's go to the next one, which are the free drones, led by Foreman Domai. This is a very interesting background character. So Foreman Domai was a talent, specifically an engineer, that when the Unity accident happened and he was being taken out of stasis, something went wrong. And it basically lobotomized him. He had no memories of what was going on. He had no identity. He became a drone. Foreman Domai is the only character of any of the Alpha Centauri or Alien Crossfire characters that are a drone instead of a talent. Slowly over time, Domai started regaining some of his knowledge and background. But long story short, this is our labor union. So Domai wants to emancipate the proletariat. He starts with 1 technology, industrial base. He also starts with +2 industry. He can build units like you would not believe, especially if he runs planned, which would make sense that a labor union official might run a planned economy. But technically, there's actually no restrictions for him running anything. There are 0, you can't run insert government type here. He can run anything. He could even run a police state if he wanted to, which is interesting. The downside is the -2 to research. This is the same research penalty that the Believers have in the base set of factions. Only one of the things that the Believers mention, just hopping back really fast, is that no research points are accumulated until mission year 2110. While it doesn't say it, the free drones have the exact same problem, and the reason is that the way SMAC handles the no research points are accumulated until insert mission year here is based off of the research penalty that you have. So, Domai, not going to be greatest on technology to start, but there's nothing stopping him from running, knowledge as a value or anything like that. So it's going to be weaker for us to research, but he has some decent advantages as well. The one thing, oh, that's right. There is something that he can't run. He can't run green economics. So our primary way of getting efficiency is locked away from him. It's also the only way that you get mind worms at the start of the game, so native life forms are going to be a problem for him. But he has an interesting ability, which is revolting bases tend to join drones. Mechanically, what that means is that if a base is in revolt for more than 1 turn, so the first turn is free, but every turn past that, there's a percentage chance, I want to say it's 25, but I don't actually know what it is, a 25% chance that the base just revolts and joins you. I have never seen this happen. Ever. In all of the games that I have played, both as Domai and playing as games where Domai is in the game, I have never seen a base join Domai. So I don't actually know how powerful that ability is, but the next ability down, on the other hand, is really powerful, which is -1 drone in every base. So it's the opposite ability from what Zach had, where Zach had +1 drone in every base. Or I should say +1 drone for every 4 population in every base. Domai has -1 drone in every base, period. Just take the number of drones you would normally have, subtract 1. It's decent, but in my mind, the free drones are probably the second weakest of the factions in Alien Crossfire. Let's get our quote. Also, fun fact, Domai is the only character whose quote is not actually said by him.
Now it's day and night the irons clang, and like poor galley slaves, we toil and toil, and when we die, must fill dishonored graves. But some dark night, when everything is silent in the town, I'll shoot those tyrants one and all, I'll gun the flogger down. I'll give the land a little shock, remember what I say, and they'll yet regret they've sent Jim Jones in chains to Botany Bay. Jim Jones, tradition.
Also, Domai is from Australia. Next one. Speaking of the weakest factions in the game, the Data Angels, led by hacker Cinder Roze. I am so sad about the fact that Cinder Roze is the weakest faction in the game, because such excellent concept. So she is originally a QA manager at Morgan. So she originates from the Morgan faction. The Free Drones technically don't originate from any faction, or I think they would technically originate from the Believers, but they never actually mentioned that part. But Cinder Rose is definitely from Morgan. There's absolutely no question about this whatsoever. Cinder Rose basically looked at Morgan and went, hacking time. And when you read her backstory and so on, it's basically she's an anonymous hacker. Nobody knows where she's at. And that is such a... or nobody knows who she is, for that matter. Which is such a cool concept, except that they never implemented any of it. So, she starts with 2 technologies, one of which is actually a fairly high-up technology. Planetary Networks is E3, I want to say? That's fairly unusual. Only the Nautilus Pirates have something of that level. She also starts with +2 probe. And something to note is that there's no need to go above +2 probe. You get no abilities past +2. And all it does is make probe actions cheaper for you to do. You also have -1 police, which is awful. You saw how much we were using police in that last game. That was basically the only thing that was allowing us to survive. -1 police means that if we start taking more police penalties, not only are we not going to be able to have units act as police in their various bases, we're actually going to start generating unhappiness by having military units outside of our base. That is completely unacceptable, which means that we can't run certain social engineering choices. In addition, we gain any technology that's known to 3 factions that we have infiltrated, which we're going to be infiltrating every faction if we play as the Data Angels anyway. This is not great. Keep in mind, there are 7 factions in the game. We're one of them, so there's 6 remaining. That means that we would gain any technology that half of the AIs have. This is a useless ability past the very start of the game, because otherwise we're going to be out-teching the AIs constantly. Not to mention, we're thieves. We're going to be stealing AI technology anyway. So this ability does nothing for us. And this is the same as building the Planetary Data Links secret project. In addition, our probe team actions are reduced in cost even further, which is nice. We're all in on the probe team, but we basically have no other abilities. If we don't have a probe team, we don't do anything. We're just penalties. We also get a free covert ops center once we reach presentient algorithms, which is nice. And we can't make power as a choice, which honestly, power is a terrible choice most of the time anyway. Who cares? I really wish they had done more with her. It's very unfortunate that they haven't. And unfortunately, that means that she's the weakest faction in the game. But we can get a totally cool quote.
What's more important, the data or the jazz? Sure, information should be free and all that, but anyone can set information free. The jazz is in how you do it, what you do it to, and in almost getting caught without getting caught. The data is ones and zeros. Life is the jazz. Datatech Cinder Rose Infobot.
So, something else to mention, she's originally from Jamaica, and oddly enough, in the game Endless Space 2, there is a faction that works very similar to how the Data Angels probably should have worked, which is to say that nobody knows they exist. That is absolutely the way this should work, but alas not. Also, something that's not said, let me go back and... So, Aki Zeta 5 prefers Cybernetic Future Society. That's her object. The Pirates prefer democracy, if I remember correctly. It was either democracy or power. I don't remember which now. The Free Drones prefer... was it Eudaimonia? And Boo Kitty is stealing my cat wand. One moment. There, I set it up where she can play with it. I didn't want her to steal it and me not be able to find it. So yeah, if I remember right, Domai wants Eudaimonia. I can't remember for sure now. The Data Angels want democracy. Okay. Next one up is the Cult of Planet. The Cult of Planet, led by Prophet Chowdan, is what happens if Deidre and Miriam have a baby. And in fact, there used to be jokes way back when about changing Chowdan's appearance to give him Miriam's hair to make it really look like it is Miriam and Deidre had a baby. Chowdan is the Planet Cult, hence the faction being Cult of Planet, who, they were born in fungus with no apparent parents, just playing around in the middle of fungus. If I remember right, there's a lot of rumors in the kind of plot of the game, again, not inside the game, so technically meta plot, where he was actually abandoned as a kid in the fungus rather than being a child of the fungus. And effectively, the Cult of Planet is a split-off faction from Gaia's stepdaughters. They gain 2 techs, which is Centauri Ecology and Social Psych, which coincidentally are the 2 techs that the Gaia stepdaughters and the Lords of Believers start with. Told you, it's basically the 2 of them merged together. They get +2 planet, which is, I believe that's actually better than what Deidre gets, right? Yeah, Deidre gets +1 planet, he gets +2 planet. So, excellent. But -1 industry and -1 economy. -1 economy doesn't do a huge amount for us. It's mostly just that you can't increase your economy very easily, so you're not getting much of a benefit by doing more economics. And -1 industry, that means everything's going to cost more. But honestly, you're not building anything. You know why? Because you're using mindworms everywhere. You get a free brood pit once you get up to the relevant tech. Mindworms count as police units for you. You can't make wealth as a decision, which who cares? Because you are using mindworms. One thing that the game does not state out loud, but it is true, the very first mindworm that you encounter, you can capture. Or actually, it's the first piece of native life. The whole point of Chowdan is that you build jack squat. You capture all of your military and swarm everything with mindworms, Locusts of Chiron, and Isles of the Deep. That's it. If you are trying to play a speedrun style game, not necessarily an actual speedrun because there's other tricks that you need to deal with, but just trying to play as fast as possible, small map size, Chowdan is hands down the best faction in the game. That's not the way I tend to play, which is the reason why I say the Nautilus Pirates are the best. But the Cult of Planet is really powerful. And you'll notice that they're basically a very militaristic faction, all in on mindworms, with no research penalties. They can also run free market for some weird reason, but whatever. Let's get our quote.
Mankind has been blind for thousands of years, for all of its history. We have come to a place whose wonders are 100-fold more amazing than anything on Earth. Around us is clear evidence of the will of a higher power. I bring the vision to the blind eyes of men. I bring the word to the deaf ears of men. I will make them see it. I will make them hear it. Prophet Chowdan, Planet Rising.
So Chowdan's voice actor is a woman. And he does not really sound like he has much of a much of a masculine voice. Kind of irrelevant in my mind, but it's the #1 complaint most people have about her. Point is, he's a kid. A very terrifying kid. He's also the only one of the 14 characters that is actually born on planet, which is interesting. Let's go to the next weird one. Now we've got the progenitor race, which are the 2 alien factions in the... They are fighting each other, hence the Alien Crossfire title. So we have Caretaker Lular Mani. I know I pronounced that wrong, but whatever. Completely unknown background. We do not get any glimpse as to where either the Caretakers or the Usurpers actually come from. We get a couple of glimpses as to what they're trying to do, but there's no backstory. Other than what's in the game, which we will see as we play. Regardless of which of these characters we play as. But notice how many tech they start with. They start with progenitor psych, Centauri ecology, field modulation, information networks, and biogenetics. They start with 5 technologies. They get a flat plus 25% bonus to defense in combat. They get +1 to planet. They get free recycling tanks at every base. They get a free energy grid in every base. They start with an extra colony pod and a Battle Ogre MK1, which we did not actually see in the last game. It is a 6 attack, 3 res defense unit that cannot be healed. And also counts as a police unit. So even if they get heavily damaged, you could just use them as police garrison in one of your bases. This is ridiculous. In addition, every prototyped combat unit, which is every combat unit, gain extra sight. This is not a, hey, look, you get a free special ability, as in it uses up one of your slots. This is just flat out, you get extra range on your sight. This is so awesome. Also, the Caretakers, actually really, it's both of the progenitors, get directed research efforts. So one of the options that we were playing with was that we actually get to choose our technology. Normally in the game, you choose one of the 4 types of technology and you just blindly research, hence the term blind research. The progenitors don't need to blind research. Finally, you also start with a scan of the entire planet. Did you hear any disadvantages that I had said during that statement whatsoever? So why do I not consider them extremely powerful? Well, there are disadvantages, they're just not listed here. First off, you may have noticed that her agenda is preventing transcendence. What this actually means is that she cannot build the Ascent to Transcendence. I don't think she can build the Voice of Planet either, but I don't remember that one off the top of my head. But she cannot build it. You cannot win by a Transcendence at all. You also cannot win by a diplomatic victory, because the progenitors are not a part of the UN. This means that you can never vote in elections, you can never raise or lower solar sails, or solar panels to cool/warm the planet. You can never get anything from the UN. In addition, you need to learn social psych in order to be able to communicate with any of the humans, which honestly, that's not really that big of a deal, because the humans have to learn progenitor psych to be able to communicate with you. Hi, boo. So you're out multiple victory conditions. And then there's the even worse part. You are permanently at vendetta with the other progenitor faction. Permanent. And in fact, when the AIs are playing, anyone that is friends with one faction will probably be at war with the other. And anyone who's allied with one faction is definitely at war with the other. It is a really big disadvantage. I'm not saying that the Caretakers are weak or anything like that, although they're probably weaker than the Usurpers. They're just not as powerful as they first seem, because there's so much that's stripped away from you. In addition, as a progenitor, whenever you conquer a base that is non-progenitor, so a human faction, the population drops to 1. So you are not conquering good bases if you fight the humans. The same thing goes in the other direction, but there's only 2 progenitor factions, and there's 5 human factions. So you're a lot better off as a human, because you can at least conquer other human bases and be fine. As a progenitor, that means that whenever you conquer bases, they're gonna suck. They're gonna suck for a long time. All of these disadvantages mean that I'm actually not a huge fan of the progenitors, playing as them, I should say. And the AI doesn't seem to be all that great with them either. They usually get bogged down at some point in mid-game and just stop doing things. I don't know why. Let's go ahead and get our quote.
Tau Ceti flowering. Horrors visited upon neighboring systems must never be repeated. Therefore, if it means the end of our evolution as a species, so be it. Caretaker Lular. Sacrifice. Life.
So yeah, Sorry, not Hermione. Or Hermione. So yeah. Her whole shtick is don't transcend. That's it. There's nothing else to it. For the opposite shtick, let's go to the Manifold Usurpers. This is led by Usurper Judah Marr. His agenda is transcendence, or subverting planet for galactic domination. He also gets 5 technologies to start, and in fact, if you notice, they're very similar technologies. The only difference is that she gets information networks, he gets applied physics. So he's got weapons, she has research. In addition, he has +1 growth and +1 morale. This is a really big combination. With +1 growth, that means that it's fairly easy for you to population boom, which is nice. +1 morale means that you're better at combat. I believe that effectively adds +10% attack and defense. You have -1 planet, which means that you are not going to be capturing any native life forms until the very end of the game at best. You also have +25% offensive combat. That is way better than the Caretaker +25% defense. Because, let's be honest, you're going to be attacking more than you defend as a human. You also get free recycling tanks at every base, energy grid at every base. Oh, right, energy grid. It's not that you have the energy bank for free. So energy grid is the way that the progenitor make money. Because you will notice that when you were playing a human, you might have seen this in the last game, that we gained energy from, whatchamacallit, all of the other AIs. Like, if we were friends with them or allies with them, we would gain commerce. The energy grid replaces commerce. The energy grid is what you get as a progenitor, because you're not getting any commerce, ever. Energy grid is based off of, if I remember correctly, the number of different cities that are connected to you. This is almost always going to be worse than commerce. At least the way I play it is. Anyway, you also begin with a Battle Ogre MK1 and an extra colony pod. And the same... basically, all of the other abilities are the same. They're all progenitor abilities. So, yeah. He's not great either. Unless if you want to go stomping. And if you want to go stomping, just play as the planet cult. You're going to curb stomp them into the ground.
Risks of flowering. Considerable. But rewards of godhood. Who can measure? Usurper Judah Marr. Courage to question.
Something else I didn't mention is that both of the progenitors, their focus government-wise is planned economy, believe it or not. So anyway, those are the 7 Alien Crossfire factions. But I've got something else to show you. These are a custom mod faction pack. It's actually my favorite one to play as. This is the, I believe it was originally called the Alpha Centauri 2nd mission. You will notice that the background pictures will have some transparency issues. They were that way in the original game. It's just not very well made. It's because of the limited color palette of the game. So these are the 7 factions, and there's no quotes in this. Well, there are quotes. You can see that there, but there's no voiced quotes. So if, like, I hit change name, nothing happens. They are not balanced against the other factions. I will not be playing a game where it's complete random chaos. However, one of the games that I'm thinking about playing is as these 2nd mission factions. And in fact, the best faction in the game, of any faction that I've ever played, custom or not, is included in this. So let's go through this really fast. And that's the reason why things are timestamped down below. So Lord Wilson Briach of the Briach, he's +2 morale, and you start with money. And you also start with applied physics. And you also get a free colony pod. Do you see why I was saying these aren't really balanced with the other factions? So it's all pluses. There are no negatives outside if you can't use Fundy. but you already start with +2 morale. So you don't need to use fundamentalism. Yeah. Pretty good faction because there's no downsides. Retain. Anyway, then we have CerraGen, led by director Tim Corbol. So his shtick is genetic engineering. This is a very weird faction. You get biogenetics for free. You get a free biology lab in every base, which means that you're going to be starting with a lot of research. Because you'll notice it wasn't a free biology lab with tech. It's just you have a bio lab. So you're going to be getting, I think it was +2 labs, or it was +25% labs. I don't remember which one now. But you're getting a fairly large chunk of research for free. You cannot choose Eudaimonia, which is a really weird choice in my mind. You get +2 growth. This is incredible. Remember, I was going on about +1 growth being really good. +2 growth is so good that you don't need to run planned economics to start population booming. You only need to run democracy and have a crate, because that's +6 growth. Or you can go democracy and planned and don't even bother building a crate. It is excellent. You also get +1 research because that wasn't good enough. Your only penalty is -1 economy, which who cares? But you also get some free abilities. Namely, you get nerve gas pods and sporific gas pods. So nerve gas pods are, you can choose to commit an atrocity, and if you do, you get +50% attack. Sporific gas pods are -2 morale on your opponent. These are free. All of your units get these, except if I remember right, there's a glitch with the nerve gas pods. Hold on, let me double check something really fast. Okay, I was right. So this is the actual file that Alpha Centauri opens up for reference, and this is for the CerraGen. You can see, hey, look, +2 growth, +1 research, -1 economy. So these are actually the abilities that you get. So it's free abil on 19 and free abil on 22. So what this is that this is a lookup on the alphax.txt file. This is the game's rules, basically. If you were to make mods to the game, you change this. And you look at ability 19 and ability 22. The problem is that the abilities start at counting 0, not at 1. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So your free abilities are heavy transport, 20, 21, 22, and non-lethal methods. Not the soporific gas pods. Even though I keep calling them sporific gas pods. Sorry about that. So not all that useful. I mean, non-lethal methods are nice, don't get me wrong, but that's not what you meant. Oh well, anyway, still, neat concept. I could probably edit it where it actually gives what it's supposed to. In fact, I probably would if I were to run it. Get our quote. Oh yeah, I forgot to read off the quote. If you have wealth, power, and influence, what else is there? Lord Wilson Briach, the estate. And CerraGen, we were meant to find the secrets of genetics and exploit them. That's why they're there. They're a code, and once we crack it, the secrets it holds are endless. Director Tim Corbol, CerraGen Theory. Then there's the Delgusia. Judge not a business deal by its ethical implications. That is the road to righteousness and financial ruin. Maria Falcao de Ferro? Do Foro? I don't know Portuguese very well, apologies. Delgusia Corporate Manual. So Delgusia is from Brazil, if I remember right. So Maria Falcao de Ferro? Anyway, I don't speak Portuguese at all. So you start with Industrial Base. That is the tech for Synth Metal Garrison. +1 support is pretty nice. You have a corporate mentality. +2 industry is extremely nice. Everything's cheap. But -3 planet. You cannot get over that. There is nothing you can do in the game that will ever let you get over -3 planet. In addition, you have bonuses in fungus, but with -3 planet, you're not going to ever get any... Hold on a moment. Let me see what the bonuses are. Okay, so the bonuses are actually +2 food, +2 minerals, +2 energy, so it's not as bad. But it's still like, you're not... Your planet rating so horrible that I don't see you ever making up for that. You also get a drone Evry for citizens. You also have 75% hurry cost. This is a very interesting situation where basically things are cheaper because of industry. Then things are cheaper again because of your hurry costs reduction. The whole point of playing Delgusia is that you rush build everything, which is a really interesting faction. Although that -3 planet, oh. Next up, Jorgenstad, from President Hans Schmidt from the Netherlands. So he starts with nonlinear mathematics. That is a tier 4 technology that gives you impact weaponry. So that's 4 attack that you start with, which is interesting. In addition, you have +1 research and -1 police. The -1 police is just kind of meh. I really don't understand the free subspace generator at every base because it does nothing for you. Subspace generators, for reference, are the building that's required for the progenitor-specific victory condition. You're not progenitor. It does nothing. However, when people conquer your base, they can sell the subspace generators for a decent amount of money. You get a bonus ability of a cloaking device with discovery of appropriate tech, which, keep in mind, cloaking devices in a single-player game do absolutely nothing. You cannot use a police state, and you also get +1 industry. I don't know why it's in this order. It's a custom faction. What do you expect? The rewards of research are infinite, but when we know how to exploit this knowledge and its practical purposes, we can become unstoppable. That was not a Dutch accent. I just made up a random accent. Let me double check to see if that actually is the correct thing for... Let me open up. This is Jorgenstad. So we are seeing... I know that's right. Free ability 2. 0, 1, 2. Yes, this one actually is a cloaking device. I don't know what in the world a cloaking device has to do with Jorgenstad, or the random building, Facility 40, which I know for a fact is definitely the, the subspace generator. It does nothing. I don't get it. This is the worst faction of the set, for reference. I have played as all of these, though. Obrioshi, who's definitely from Japan. Akioshi, Yakishi. So this is an interesting faction. This is an efficiency research faction with a penalty to growth. So the cybernetic consciousness. They only have a -1 growth and a +1 research instead of 2 and 2. In addition, they have a penalty to probe. So this is a faction ability that we haven't actually seen yet. Penalty specifically means that if you try to increase your probe rating, in this case probe at least, by 2, it actually only increases it by 1, if I remember correctly. In addition, you get a free energy bank at every base. You start with an extra 75 energy, but it costs an extra 33% more to hurry things. You also start with no tech. This is basically a worse version of the cyborgs. But at least you don't have crappy growth. Energy flows all throughout around us in infinite forms. Our mission is to harness that energy for the benefit of mankind while maintaining the balance of nature. This is supposed to be a hybrid between the Gaians and Morgan. I really don't understand the combination. They have no economy increase at all. Whatever. Next up, we have the Rensselaer from President Jacques Alato. So your tech is ethical calculus, which is the tech for democracy for reference, and you're aiming for a democracy. You have robust efficiency, which means that you take half as many penalties to efficiency as normal. But you don't actually have any way of taking efficiency penalties, other than planned. We'll get to that in a moment. So you get a free vehicle because you're an aeronautics corporation. The free vehicle in this case is a needle jet. You start with a needle jet. It's not doing much, though, because you can't upgrade its guns. In addition, you get +1 industry, which is, a thing. It's a net positive. You also get a free recycling tank at every base, and you can't use a police state. There's nothing particularly wrong with the Rensselaer. And I just realized I've been covering this up. Sorry. There we go. Rensselaer. I covered up for the Obrioshi as well. Sorry. Obrioshi. Rensselaer. Yeah, these don't even look like they're from the same creator, but they're the same faction pack, and they were originally released as a pack of 7 factions together. Anyway, the quote: "As we enter the next epoch of humanity, we enter a totally new environment. This does not mean that we should forget the lessons of the past. We must strive to be a peaceful and efficient humanity, but also a creative and progressive humanity." President Jacques Alato. Let it fly. So yeah, the Rensselaer Corporation, in this case, you do aeronautics stuff. Yeah. Let me double check by reading his thing really fast. Oh, yep, there's more in here. So, you have robust efficiency, free tech of ethical calculus, free unit 12, which we can look up our units. Those are special unit abilities. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for actual units. You can see why I didn't want to re-release these prior to, because if you look, you get lots of spoilers in here for the game. Units, 12. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, it's a chopper. Okay. So you get the scout chopper for free, which is not actually all that great. Although I guess in the very beginning of the game, it's not that bad. But anyway, you get +1 efficiency. You get free fac 3. Free fac 3. Free fac 3. What does free fac 3 do? One moment. Okay, free fac 3 versus facility 29. So free fac 3 means that once you get the technology, you get a free facility. So these base facilities, 0, 1, 2, 3. Pretty sure it's supposed to be recycling tanks. So unless if these happen to count 1 up instead of 0 up like everything else, you're actually getting perimeter defense for free. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I'm pretty sure these have to count 1 up instead of 0 up. So you're getting a free recycling tanks with the appropriate technology, and you get a free aerospace complex without the appropriate technology. You're starting with an aerospace complex. That is really nice. Why they don't actually mention it whatsoever when you're talking about it from here, I have no idea. Let's also take a quick glance back at the Obrioshi that I was trying to figure out what in the world you're getting from this, because there might be more to... Oh, I forgot. There was actually more to Rensselaer that I didn't even get a chance to. So you're also getting +1 commerce rating. I don't think this does anything. And your tech cost is reduced by 5%, which is effectively like having half a point of research. So yeah, Rensselaer has a lot of abilities. That actually is probably balanced with some of the others. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Obrioshi now, like I was saying. Obrioshi. +2 efficiency, +1 research, -1 growth, penalty to probe, free facility. Start with 70. No, it actually is just as bad as it sounds. Okay. Yep, I don't get it. So let's go to the most overpowered faction by far, and I think this might be an accident, but I'm not entirely sure. And that is, oh, yeah, I did do the quote. The Ceraboyo. From director Gina Ceraboyo, the heir to the Ceraboyo art empire. Ceraboyo. If I end up playing as a Ceraboyo, you will get sick and tired of seeing that name everywhere. Your free tech is Centauri ecology, so you can start with building formers, which is great. That is an excellent starting tech. It's even tier 1, so it's appropriate. I'm going to skip this one because I'm going to have to explain what that actually means. It's a little weird. You get +1 economy, which is great. That means that if you run wealth, you are now at +2 economy, which is the golden spot for economy in my mind. So, excellent. -2 morale. As long as you don't attack, morale does nothing. This does mean that you're going to end up with very green and extremely green units, but honestly, it's not that big of a deal. Free paradise gardens in every base. So that is +2 talents right there, right at the start. You can't use fundamentalism, but nobody actually cares about fundamentalism. I'm going to actually open up the Ceraboyo to explain the talents because it doesn't do what it says it does. Okay, I messed up this one entirely when it came to explaining the talents, so I'm going to try to explain it quickly and easily. So this ++ talent, I mixed up which one was which. So this ++ talent just means that you are going to get an extra 2 talents per base. Okay, we're good there? Facility 12 is that that's the Paradise Garden, so that's +2 talents per base. Coincidentally, it also means it's impossible to use a punishment sphere as the Ceraboyo. This is the broken one, though. Talent 1, so Talent 1, what that actually does, believe it or not, is that you get a free talent for every population. So, like, for instance, if this was, instead of Talent 1, it was Talent 4, that would give you an extra talent for every 4 population. Coincidentally, Drone 4 is actually what Zach had in our previous game. So you gained an extra drone for every 4 population. In this case, we have Talent 1. We get an extra talent per population. We would still get the standard drones from the base. So that's based off of our difficulty. If we are playing at Transcend difficulty, every population point beyond the 3rd is a drone. So what that would mean is that we would get +4 talents. Keep that number in mind. So population 1, talent. Population 2, talent. Population 3, talent. Population 4, talent. Population 5, talent. Population 6, talent. Population 7, normal. So the end result is the same, but we will never gain a drone unless if we have super drones. Never. Do you know how ridiculous this is? This is just completely absurd. Anyway, back to what I was saying before. I'm making a mess for Editor Me. You notice that there's no penalty to growth here? Yeah. The Ceraboyo is the poster child for population booms. Nothing comes close. You have no penalties to anything that matters for population booming. You have no growth penalties. You have no efficiency penalties. And in fact, you have an economy bonus. This is absurdly powerful. Even though on the surface, it just seems like a pretty decent faction. This faction is the one that I have my record score on for reference, and it is ridiculously high. So if you want to watch me stomp the game so far into the ground that the AI doesn't even know what is going on and may not even declare war on me because they can't figure out that I'm a threat, the Suraboyo is for us. If you want me to play as a challenging faction, that's probably going to end up being Obrioshi. Delgusia would be a different style of play that I normally do, so that might be an interesting challenge, and still not horrible or anything. The CerraGen, I would probably want to actually fix the faction to work correctly. The Briach is just a generic faction in my mind. There's nothing wrong with them, but there's nothing particularly awesome other than they're really good at combat with no penalties. They're kind of like a better version of Sparta. Let's see, Jorgenstad is just weird. That's it. They're just weird. Rensselaer is excellent for flyers because they are flyers incarnate. But then again, a single secret project does everything that they do. Going back to the original 7, if you want to see me play a quick game, select the Cult of Planet, and I will play a smaller world and just roll everything into the ground with a very aggressive strategy. Quite the opposite of what I did last time. If you want me to play a game where I keep expanding forever and ever, that would be the Nautilus Pirates. If you want me to play a challenging game, either the Data Angels, where I'm going to have to just not really have any good abilities, or the Free Drones, where I'm actually penalized I'm penalized for taking the same strategies that I did in my previous one. If you want to see me play a very similar game to the last one, Cybernetic Consciousness would be it. If you want me to play a very undiplomatic game, that would probably be one of the Progenitor race. Or I can play one of the base factions. All of these are options. So this is me explaining both the Alien Crossfire factions and the Second Mission factions. I hope you have enjoyed this. One last thing, because I completely forgot to add this in the video, and the original ending to the video had extra content that ended up in a different video. I am planning on playing either at Transcend difficulty with regular Alien Crossfire, or play with the Thinkers mod at Thinker difficulty. I have now played an offline game at Thinker difficulty. If I do go with the Thinker mod, I will have an extra video explaining the Thinker mod and the changes that I've made to it to make it not stupid. And also give like a link to where other people can take the same changes on the same config file, because I really don't like the defaults. But I have played an offline game of using the Thinker mod on Thinker difficulty, strangely enough, as the Data Angels, so one of my weaker factions. And the AIs kept up with me for most of the game. In fact, almost the entire game. It was the very end that they finally stopped keeping up with me. So that was interesting. So might be interesting to watch. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this internet, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!